imagine but they might also not know that it's a
Yeah.
megaphone, and then just
They might be like, where the are they? Yeah. Yeah.
And
Those
we can all hear it.
I hate these BridgeMakers. They hide the bridges.
As soon as I get here.
That's right. I hate those chicks again. Sometimes
I'm imagining folks being frustrated with not finding us.
Yeah, and accidentally going into the megaphone area.
Walking into the
yeah.
Found a spot you can sit at.
Hey, look, Mary's running our first one. In fact, we could take turns by the number too. So, but I will do the first one if you'd like.
Driving got the most votes, did it? Interesting.
Yeah, it got the most votes by the people who are possibly going to attend, I guess. There were two for hangry, but Bantam was not going to come. So.
Well, here's the problem with that.
What?
Technically, the other one got the vote by the actual attendance.
That's true, but technically, I think it was a tie by who was saying they were going to attend. So.
Well, if I would have voted and not forgot, I would have said that's a weird phrased question.
Yes. And then I would have said, great, Carl, rewrite it before the deadline. Okay.
Oh, never mind.
What's that?
It's best to drive on the right side of the road. Okay. So just a reminder to everybody, we are live streaming. I'm going to zoom in on this image for our viewing audience to understand what we're doing. And then I'm going to go through the spiel. So, welcome everybody. Hopefully our RSVPers come sooner than later. And here we are. So, this is Street Epistemology. Yay! And we are here to have a debate that nobody wins. And so what that means is, as you can see, these little lines are drawn. We're all going to start out on the line of neutral to be in the same place before we pick our polarities. The opinions that we're expressing today are not necessarily the opinions that we hold. The goal for this exercise and experience is more about finding the gradient of perspectives than about being right or convincing people to sway to the side that you've chosen. It's encouraged to actually try to be on a side you wouldn't necessarily be on, and don't tell anybody. And so first we start with level 1, which is the silly kind of practice version. And then level 2 is where it gets more serious. And 3 is where it can become kind of heated and intense. And so the method that we've been practicing with this is the first step is we get on neutral, and then we disperse to our different polarities, try to get off neutral if at all possible, so that you can hold a side and be engaged in this process. And then we're going to have a conversation with mostly the polarities of who chose what and why. And then we're going to see if we convinced each other of anything and switch lines before we move on. Hey, Lau's here. We'll see now. Now it isn't a tie. Hey, Lau. Welcome. So that being said, any questions from anybody? No. Okay. So let's all hop on neutral. Oh, wait, Mary has a question. Okay. Yes, Mary. You in the back. What'd you say?
Who drew these lines?
I don't know. Maybe me. Why? They're a little wiggly.
They're very creative.
Yes, they're more like strings. You know, they're kind of just like follow the thought thread. Yes. Someday we'll have maybe this world or another world customized, so these don't have to get drawn every week. But until then, here they are. Okay, so
I
is
don't know. Maybe me. Why?
What did you say, Vinya? Maybe me. Oh yeah, I'm being
You
dodgy.
delivered that.
Yeah. No, I'm like I can't take more complaints today. I've had a little too many lately. Okay, so hop on neutral, everybody, and I will lead number 1, but maybe somebody else will lead number 2, and we'll take turns.
That's slightly disagree, Lau.
Yeah. Gotta go on neutral first. There you go. Well done. Okay, so I'm gonna say 3, 2.
I understand now why they asked.
I'm gonna say 3, 2, 1,
continue.
move, and then you're gonna move. So 3, 2, 1, move. Disperse. Go to your alternate line. Okay. Carl. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen you sit in neutral. That's kind of your extreme today, I guess. All right.
Yeah.
Well, you know what we could do? We could make whoever stays on neutral run it, and then the other person switches and picks it. Okay.
Hey, they're a neutral party.
Exactly. So maybe you're the one that should be running it. Okay. But that's making the rules up too quickly, I think. So we're gonna go with this. All right. So we've got Venia on strongly agree that it is best to drive on the right side of the road. And we have Mary on disagree that it is best to drive on the right side of the road, assuming Mary is meaning it is best to drive on the left side of the road. Is that true, Mary? Yes. Okay. So left on my left and right on my right. All right. So
If Australia drives on the
Left.
on the right, on the left. Okay.
Australia drives on the left. And England, London, UK drives on the left. Yes. Cool.
And Japan and South Africa.
Yeah, look at that. All right. So Venia or Mary, whoever is going to raise their hand first, who would like to figure out why the other person, what the arguments are for the other side? No pun intended. You got to raise your hand. Raise your hand. Practice. You can find your hand raised. You're typing. Okay, never mind. You can't find it. Oh, there you go. Yay. Look at that. Well done. Yes, you over on the right. So why do you think Mary chose it's better to drive on the left side?
I feel like there's a lot of reasons why city and urban planning would choose to do this, but the vast majority of it, I think, is cultural. I think because we culturally just kind of picked a side at some point in history, that is enough reason. Like, why change it? It's not really hugely impactful in any way, shape, or form. And I don't really think that there are any big numbers on it. So just respect the cultural basis. And if it happened to be on the left, it's on the left now. Why worry about it?
So your guess of why Mary chose the left is because it doesn't matter, and he's going to stick with the left because that's
cultural practices.
Okay. Yeah. Is your reason to respect cultural practices, Mary? Is that why you chose that?
It's not the primary reason, no.
Okay.
But it is a reason.
Okay. So you partially got that, Vinny. Would you like to give it another go?
Yeah. I could think of the clockwise, counterclockwise logical argument, which I think has happened before, where it's like, if you're driving on the right side of the road, you're always driving clockwise. But because you're driving clockwise into a left turn or a right turn, you're always going to end up looking at the sun at some point in the evening, which is when people are coming home, like, tired. So there's this counterclockwise movement of try and move
Shield your
human traffic
opinions.
against the direction of the sun.
Wow, that is, I'd never heard that one. And you
No, me neither.
yeah, so not the reason, but you're just feeding him reasons. So well done, you. Harder mountain for for you to climb the other direction. All right. So Mary, what did Venia miss?
Okay, so if you imagine the majority of the world is right-handed. Now, if you're driving on the right side, then your driver's seat is on the left of the vehicle. Now, what happens when you need to change gears in a manual car? You take your right hand and you move it off the wheel. Now, in my opinion, people's dominant hand should always be on the wheel. I feel like it's safer that way.
So
if you drive on the left, then the majority of people's dominant hand will always be on the wheel.
So your argument is about where the placement of the wheel is in the vehicle more than it is about the side of the road you're driving on.
Well, the side of the road you drive on determines which side of the car the wheel's going to be.
Okay. But what if it didn't? Technically, this was just about side of the road.
I think there's for me, there's good enough justification that the wheel is on the side closest to oncoming traffic.
Okay. Interesting. So your argument...
I'm also left-handed.
Oh, you're picking battles with lefties here, even though you're a lefty. So yeah, so that's interesting. It's an interesting example
This never would have occurred to me.
This is an interesting example of a kind of additional level that Mary's arguing off of that wasn't part of the statement, but could be argued to be part of the statement. So thank you, Mary. Okay, so Mary, why is Venia and Lau technically on the strongly or the agree end of things? I take a guess.
Because the majority of the world does drive on the right side, and there isn't much justification to change an entire transit infrastructure just for some silly reason that some people think it should be on the left, I guess.
So you think that they chose this because it's just the way it is and it's impractical and costly to change it. Okay, yes. Does that match for either of you, Venia or Lau?
I understand that approach, but I am the opposite.
Okay, so that didn't match for Venia. And Lau, you're shaking your head no? That's not your reason? Did you say something, Lau?
No, I said no.
Oh, okay. So that's not it. Okay. You want to try again, Mary?
I don't know.
Okay. Wow.
I don't have anything.
You have Mary stumped. All right. So Lau or Venia, who would like to share why you chose agree and strongly agree that it's best to drive on the right side of the road?
Lau, do you want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay.
Obviously not feeling strongly about it. Yes, go ahead.
My perspective as an American who, in my country, we drive on the left side of the road. Well, sorry, it's the reverse here. I apologize. So I moved from America to Australia, and I have noticed that there is a certain level of safety involved with the pedestrians in America versus the pedestrians here in Australia, wherein the pedestrians are most often walking with the traffic instead of always in view of the traffic. So I would rather the pedestrians and the traffic be going opposite directions so that pedestrians are always seeing oncoming vehicles.
Wow. So also,
I have found that in the city centers, like, you'd think that it would be normal because there's sidewalks on either side of the street and people can use either one. But it seems like the way that we choose to build our buildings and stuff like that tends to result in human traffic concentrating in specific spots in those building areas. And that seems to be on the wrong side of the road. It's just a sense.
Interesting.
That's interesting. Again, both of you have actually taken the question and added on complexities to it that I would have never thought of. But okay, so there's an instinct that if you switch the sides of the traffic direction, people would then be more safe as pedestrians. Okay.
Yeah, because I would rather the pedestrian see a vehicle that might be oncoming toward them. So I'd rather the traffic and the pedestrians be moving in opposite direction.
Okay, gotcha. I thought that was to some degree a law, but maybe that was just my parents teaching me to always
I think
walk
it
with things.
is most common here that they do follow that safer principle, but there is the occasion in which I've encountered that they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe it's just a thing here where they just don't care.
Yeah. I always heard it as like an etiquette thing of like it's rude to the vehicles if pedestrians are walking in the direction that they are driving. Like you're stressing out the I lost our neutral party. Okay. Lau, was that why you chose agree?
Pedestrian? Not really.
Okay.
My reason might be a bit silly, but so our country, we have seats on we drive on left and our seats on right side, so it kind of just makes me uncomfortable. Like it's so dangerous. Like just my imagination is that if I have a car crash with like from front, it's kind of hard. It's kind of dangerous because you would how do I say this? If both people are on the left side, like you drive on left, and from the other side, you are close to the driver. So if something happen accidentally, car crash, you're gonna crash the opposite side of the driver. Like you're just gonna crash the driver from the front.
So Lau is going off of the kind of intention of the question, which is keep the seat where you're speaking from. Like keep the seat on the same side, but you just switch sides of the road. And saying where Lau is, that would be more dangerous to put drivers into oncoming traffic, it sounds like. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow, such a variety. I love it. Okay. So now I'm going to ask you. Yes. Meanwhile, we've got
in Germany.
Yes.
Pedestrians have right of way, so I feel like that is probably safer than either answer here for them.
Yeah, that it's always the car's fault.
Safety.
Yeah, I think that's similar in the United States. Mostly always the car's fault. Okay, so now we're going to see if anybody here with your really creative arguments have swayed the Carl off the neutral. Oh, Mary's raising his hand. Yes, Mary. Oh, we've got an Astral here. Hello, Astral. We are finishing up number one here. So I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, and then I want anybody to move if you have been swayed by the different arguments. Oh, okay. We're all removing. All right. 3, 2, 1, move. Whoa. Well, Vinia, I'm not saying people win, but I think you may have won a little bit here. You got the neutral off of neutral. So
I don't think I've won.
I know, I'm kidding. But let's check in with Carl. Carl, how did this argument sway you so much to strongly agree people should drive on the right side?
Well, maybe Vinny is probably a little right in not taking credit there, because while the discussion did help me kind of think through the question, I think as usual I'm stuck on the semantics of it, and right being a synonym for correct. I'm just stuck on that, and so whatever your opinion is, you can agree with that statement and say, "Oh yeah, what you're saying is the wrong
The
side of the
right
road."
side, yeah, the wrong side. Got it. That's cute. Carl
But
has gone off the reservation.
what
Yes.
Venya was saying about the flow of traffic did kind of make me start to think about I would appreciate if we had. I want to drive on the right and sit on the right for my own convenience. So, the opposite of safety. I just want to be able to get out and step right onto the curb. Well, I guess there's some driver safety there. You're not getting out in where the cars are driving. You're getting out, in the safer area as the driver.
Nice. That's funny. Way to just be like, if I reshape the world, I choose it for me the way it feels good to me. The end. Okay, good to know.
So there's this traffic changeover system that was tried in Wyoming and Utah. And it's relatively easy to try traffic changes, just workshop different weird designs in Wyoming, because there are no real people. So it's very easy. You look at how a single vehicle handles a specific architectural design, and it's like having a very low load-bearing test before you put it into a major city. But there's a difference and a problem between the traffic flow for those. And one of the things that they tried is something called a diamond switchover intersection, which sounds complicated, and it is. And the idea was that you would switch the sides you were driving on as you were coming onto the highway. So you could avoid having a clover infrastructure. You would just come onto an on-way, and then you would have the entire length of a bridge without having to turn left or turn right, which means you no longer need a stop sign signal. So you would get onto the wrong side of the road, cross the bridge, and there would basically be a queue. And then regardless of the side of the bridge you're on, you would turn without turning into traffic in order to get on the highway. That worked really well in Wyoming. And then they made one in the middle of Salt Lake City, Utah, in 5 lanes of traffic, where only the left turns switch to the left side of the road in order to pass over 1 lane of traffic instead of none.
This
and
sounds
it
like
created
chess.
a tremendous amount of confusion and so many wrecks.
Oh my God.
So many.
I'm literally starting to almost hold my breath and hyperventilate hearing you describe that. It is so stressful to imagine being put into that experiment at the cost of my own vehicle and well-being. Ugh.
Yeah.
So, yes,
It worked fine in Wyoming.
Well, good job for Wyoming. It probably would have gone over well in Portland, where I used to live, which was considered the top, I think it was in the top slowest cities in the country to go at a green light. It was in the top 3 or something. We just joked that everybody was high, and so we just stared at the green light and we're like, green, it's so pretty. And so, yeah, there are all kinds of gradients. But for the learning today, it looks like only Carl was swayed and everybody else was solid on their line. We're now going...
a little bit.
Did you? Oh, you moved to... Okay, so you got pulled by the magnet. What was your
Even
pull?
You're confused by your lines.
I know.
Oh,
Nice. Nice.
Shade.
your lines
I
are
know.
pretty.
Thank you.
Nonsensical but pretty. I love you. Please don't hurt me.
I'm gonna walk off the edge here.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Oh no.
It was the last line that broke the Hayu's back. Okay.
You're okay. You're
Yeah.
okay. It's
What
fine.
made
We
you
all
sway by one, Mary?
It was Venia's argument that, in my mind, I think actually the infrastructure of the buildings probably takes precedence over the priority of having your primary hand always being on the wheel.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Well, I learned a lot that I've never thought about. So I appreciate everybody's statements here. And that was our fun version. Now we are going to go to number 2. So everybody hop on neutral.
Just a quick kudos. Your conversation about the dominant hand being on the wheel completely and utterly blew my mind.
Yeah, me too.
I've never thought of it that way before.
That was quite the argument. Okay, so for our streaming audience, I'm going to move it to. Okay, number 2 is age verification in social VR harms kids. And so I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, and then ask you all to pick your lines. All right, so 3, 2, 1.
Can we have more seconds in the countdown? I need to think about this.
Oh, you need. Okay, yeah. No, I'm glad you asked for time. So I'll give you all just like a minute, but let each other think. And again, the encouragement here is you have your gut response to this, right? But pick a direction that wouldn't be as easy to argue, but you think might get left out. This is not about reflecting your opinions. This is about practicing multiple perspectives and not revealing that you are practicing a perspective that isn't yours. So, all right, you ready, Mary?
I'm ready.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, move. Oh my God.
Oh,
Okay. I had to verify I was on the right side of everybody going over here.
Okay. Wow. Well, this was not the polarity I was
Okay.
hoping for. That's really interesting.
I
though.
have a
would not have guessed
specialization
that.
enough to argue the other side.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'll
Vinny's
be
going
over
to take
here.
the other. Okay.
'Cause
Good deal.
I feel I have enough specialization to argue this side.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Vinny. All right. So we've got Lau on strongly agree. Okay. So Lau or Vinya, who would like to guess the other side first?
Benny can go first.
I'm still processing my
Okay.
own reasons.
Yeah. Okay. So, Vinya, would you like to guess Lau's reason? Oh, wait.
Well,
Yeah. No, that was the other direction. So, Lau, would you like to guess Vinya's reason?
Let me think.
I'm actually go to this side, to be honest.
Oh, Astral's
Oh.
Why it
Astral's
wouldn't harm kids?
switch.
oh,
What'd you say, Lau?
I want to swap sides. I'll take this side.
Nice.
I have to think about it because I haven't really thought about the reasons behind this,
Yeah.
like the
Okay.
reasons why it couldn't harm kids.
So, Mary or Carl, would you like to take a guess as to why Venya and now Astral has floated to the other side?
Well, I'd say I believe the intent of the feature, and it's often requested, is in order to protect kids. So I would think that would be a pretty straightforward reason to disagree with that statement.
Okay, but why? Can you go into that a little bit more? I mean, that's the intent, but why does it protect kids?
Because there are situations in. Okay, that does say in VR. I was gonna say, wait, is this specifically about VR chat? But there are definitely situations in VR chat that are adult in nature, and those can be, protected system-wise. They can't join if they aren't verified, so you have no worry of, getting in trouble in that way.
So it's protecting kids because it's keeping them from getting in trouble for ending up in adult content areas?
Or yes, but in the same vein, also protecting the adults from interacting with kids in that way.
Okay. You're saying it's not harming, it's
Unknowingly.
helping the kids. Mary, do you have
Yeah.
any arguments for the other side? I'm gonna go with Carl's.
I'm trying not to. I'm trying to add something, but
Okay. Let's see if
no.
Carl had a direct hit on Venia or Astral. Is it because it helps kids not get in trouble with the system because they're being just
I mean,
boundaried?
it's a really big reason.
Okay. So that's a yes?
There needs to be some form of judicial boundary and judicial standard for trying the events in which an adult and a child are in circumstances. And that's
Okay.
a really great way to do it. Like, it was against the law for there to be anyone under the age of 18, and therefore, being in that room, more than enough reason to guess. And if there was reasonable cause to understand that the individual that they were speaking with was under the age of 18, then they could have and should have stopped. That's a defensible position in court. So that makes sense. The rule exists to make it court viable.
Okay. So it's setting the boundary for the adults and for the children so everybody knows what's not okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that in itself is the opposite of harming. It's helpful. Okay. So it sounds like they got it.
And that seems to comply with Carl's idea. Yeah.
But that's not the only reason you chose that side?
No, I have a lot.
Okay. Astral, did that land for you? Is that your reason? Or did they not get it?
It's definitely part of it there too. It's a big answer.
Okay. Got it. All right. Does anybody want to take another guess? Like Lau? Why would they choose? It does the opposite of harming, so it helps kids.
I would try.
Mm-hmm.
So my idea is around. So if you're not verified, you're gonna be like, maybe you're a kid, maybe you're a new player, and this will attract attention from people who are verified, who are 18 plus. More attention than normal users, because if they're in like a situation that they cannot escape themselves or they do not know, people can help.
So you're saying age verification harms kids because or you're saying it helps kids because it's clear to know who hasn't been verified and protect them because you can tell it from the sound of their voice or something.
Like, so if they are not verified, you can almost guess they are a kid or they are just purely new user. And if they're getting harassed and you witness the situation, it would get more attention because maybe people will check the other.
They're more vulnerable. Got it. So maybe it gives
more vulnerable because they do not know how to defend themselves, or maybe they will think like this is normal.
Yeah. So it's flagging the people that need more protection and orientation because they don't have the flag.
Yeah, generally.
Okay. Interesting. Does that land as a reason for either of you over here? Not for Astral. And not for Vinia. Okay.
It's an interesting thought, though.
It is, really. Yeah. I think you came up with something. All right. Mary's got one more try here. We're going to...
I'm probably not going to get it, but as a bystander, having some indication of age might help in a case of harassment for a child, that a bystander would be more ready to step in if they knew the age. For example, in the case of pedophilia,
Mm.
When it looks like someone is in a relationship with someone, you
Mm.
don't normally want to interfere, but if there's a child involved, you might be more inclined to.
So almost like right now, the age verification is at a line of, are you over 18 or not? But maybe you're saying eventually age verification could be, are you over 13? And if you're not over 13 or over 18, maybe that would activate that bystander even more to be like, whoa, this is really serious. Okay. Does that land for either of you?
Yes.
Maybe
Okay.
just some thoughts that I've been having.
Okay. Gotcha. Interesting.
I
All
would
right.
say the same. Yeah.
So, what would you say in about a minute, if you can keep it to that, to say what they missed about why you chose strongly disagree that it harms kids to have age verification?
Do you want to start?
I'm confused. Wait a second. I'm suddenly confused. So, age verification harms kids. Do you disagree with that statement, or I disagree that it does harm kids? I'm confused all of a sudden.
It's the
So
same
I
thing.
believe that.
Right? So you're basically saying that it's helpful to kids to have age verification.
All right.
By standing
I'm in
there.
this camp then. I'm on the right line. Okay. Thank
yeah.
you. So,
Yeah.
so quickly then, I believe that it's actually a good idea to have identity linked spaces in general. I like the idea of having kids knowing that they're in an environment with other kids around, so they can act like kids and be playful.
Mm. It
I think
helps kids.
This provides.
Okay.
Like,
So
provided there are still spaces where the ages can mix safely too.
So there's almost a mirroring piece that I hear you inferring here of like, if I can see how kids behave like me and we're all the same age, then I know what's normal and okay and where I can retreat to. And then when I go out into a mixed space, I remember my identity in here because I've seen and felt what that's like. Does that fit?
Something I wonder is there should be like a senior age too, or seniors only group.
So the other direction. Okay. So it's not just
People
about kids.
often think that's what Ancients of VR Chat is. Like,
the nursing home of VR Chat.
You gotta be 40 to be in here.
You must prove your arthritis diagnosis to be an ancient. Okay. Fascinating. Okay. So thank you, Astral. Venya, what is your 1 minute summary of your argument?
I love that you stressed the 1 minute part.
I'm giving you a bit.
So I think about this a lot, because of career-based stuff. And here in Australia, we just passed a under 16 law for social media. And a vast majority of the reason why I support that, even though I know it's not a good thing, is that we have to at some point draw a line in the sand when it comes to systemic policy development to protect vulnerable populations. Youth are considered a vulnerable population wherein they can navigate laws and break them, but the law cannot create something and then walk it back, right? It's harder for a systemic policy to be vague and gray area-esque than it is for an individual to choose to cross that line. And if they do cross that line and it's harmless and they don't discover it or anything like that, like kids can break laws. Okay, but if they get discovered, consequences happen. The reverse is not the case for governance. So governance sets a law, and then it's up to the children to decide whether or not that law matters to them.
Mm. I think I get what you're saying. So you're like, without the boundary, then no accountability, and then these are children, so they're developmentally not able to set those boundaries for themselves. And so then there's just going to be a lot of harm because they're not going to set the right boundaries for themselves.
Not quite.
Hmm.
But that is another argument that is similar to the one
You're
I'm
welcome.
making.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, so the idea is, if you put on paper, here is the line on the sand. For the government, that line is immutable. It cannot change. You have to make that policy standard, and you have to reinforce it. For the human, however, for the individual, whether you are under or over the age of 18, you can choose to break that law. And it doesn't matter if the system doesn't catch you, right? But if you put a business in its place, or if you put a government in its place, or you put someone or an institution that's responsible for protecting the children in place, that line in the sand has to exist. So on a systemic level, the line has to be immutable.
Okay.
On a relational human level, they can choose to cross that line or not. And the impact that is made is on that person, not on society itself.
Got it. So you're right. What I was saying was in the realms of this, but you're just basically saying without the boundary, the protection of gradients will not grow with it. And so there is still just going to be harm. We can decide how strongly to reinforce that boundary or break it, but we need the boundary to know it's there. Okay.
That was under a minute, White. A Hawaii minute, maybe?
Hawaii minute.
That was under a minute.
I'm going to go with that.
No,
Galactic minute,
but...
Yeah. Light year minute, maybe. Yeah. Okay. So now it is on Astral and Vinia to guess this side over here. We have 2 agrees that it is harmful to children to have age verification in VR, and we have a strongly agree. So try to go after Lau, because Lau is clear, certain even. It is strongly harmful to children to have age verification. Who would like to take a guess as to why?
One guess that I have is that perhaps that it doesn't allow for cross-contamination of culture between genders. If you have segregated spaces.
Okay.
Genders, I mean age groups, excuse me.
Yeah. So segregation can stunt growth and cause like siloed, almost incestuous spaces. Does that fit? Okay. Lau, does that land for you why you chose that? It's unhealthy. It's not natural.
I need explanation because I couldn't understand.
Yeah, so the way I heard it is it's just basically saying it's not natural for children to be in those kinds of barriers. It needs to be more like a village, and this is going to harm them. Is that your reason?
Kinda, I think.
Okay.
Kinda relate and connect.
Yeah. Okay. Well, way to go, Astral. Was there anything that somebody missed so we can give them a second guess? Is that all of it, or there's more?
Still.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. There's still more.
I'm still guessing on their end, right?
Yeah, you're guessing on Lau's end.
Because I can tell you the reason why I was initially over there.
Don't say it like that.
I firmly believe that when you set a line so immutably in the sand around age, you are inextricably removing from those individuals, because of age, something that they can't handle for a certain amount of time, you're removing specific access to resources that they otherwise should have learned in the first place. So the vast majority of kids and under 18 people who move into adult-only spaces are often doing it as a part of experimentation and learning and identity formation and identity tourism. And instead of allowing that to happen in a safe space, you are basically saying, no, you can only access this by breaking the law. It's
And so
about access
now,
to information.
now the
That's
adult
not a great way
roles.
to
From a
do
legal
it.
perspective, because I didn't even consider that. I just thought of it as just something that people could be recognizing of, and society could adapt around it.
So you're feeling some earthquakiness over here. You're like, I might be swayed this way.
More anarchy.
Anarchy. Oh, okay. Got it. So Lau, does that land for you? That basically you're stunting the growth and the awareness for the kids unless they break the rules, and then all bets are off. They have to be adults.
Actually, yeah, it's pretty accurate from my like the idea.
Yeah. Well done, Vinya. You got that one.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty much right on for me too. So.
That's for Carl. Okay.
Not,
So it's
not for me.
Not for, oh, we got a mystery person over here. All right. So Mary, why don't you tell us what they missed over there about why you believe it harms kids?
I think this obviously, okay, theoretically it depends on how it's implemented, but I think given all the implementations we've had, it's a false sense of security because it's not going to be accurate. There's going to be many kids who are able to fake their age through one means or another, and they're going to kind of slip through the cracks, and then people are going to assume that they're not kids when they are, and so it creates that false sense of security. And to second that, I can't think of a way to perform age verification that is a good solution, both in terms of accuracy in that regard and not breaking the kid's own privacy.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, nobody had raised the privacy piece. Yeah, there's some really important thoughts in there about. I think there's another frame to this, which has to do with punitive justice, restorative justice, transformative justice, and how that implementation can be influenced according to those systems. Not a database of exactly. Yeah, we're getting in some weird zones here where corporate systems own most of our platforms, and then now they have lists of children, and it's like, whoa, alarm bells. So yeah, thank you everybody. So now I'm gonna say, oh gosh, yeah, I bet, or any of the children branding, right? Yeah, I knew you were gonna chime in, Astel. I love that you all just turned to typing. I don't know why, but it's interesting that this side has been like, I'm not even talking about this anymore.
Away a moment ago.
Okay, so I'm gonna say 3, 2, 1, and I'm gonna see if anybody wants to move lines here. So 3, 2, 1, move. Benny's like, I'm gonna go sit where I want to sit. Oh, and Astel stayed, and Mary moved the other direction. Interesting. Okay, so let's see here. Lau stayed. Yeah. So Benny took their walkabout and came back here. You want me to? No, it's okay.
I just moved slightly because Vinny phrased my own idea better than I could.
Nice. You actually pushed Carl over even more extreme, even though you're holding the other side. You are like an argument ninja over here, Venya. That is impressive. Okay. And Astel's still holding this side. Thank you, Astel, for holding it.
Do we need another channel in BridgeMakers?
We might. Yeah. Age verification conversation. Amazing.
Or argument ninjas.
Argument ninjas. Oh, right. Because we have the Heart Ninjas channel. So interesting. Okay. For the sake of time, my dears, we're going to move to question number 3 because this is an important one, and it's what we work our muscles to be able to talk about the harder stuff. And this is a global issue. So shout out or emoji out to the person who donated this question to be revealed after we go through it. And yeah, let's all get on the neutral line and we're going to do this one. Argument night. Cute. I like it. All right, Astral, hop over on the neutral. There we go. All right. So the statement for our viewing audience, all 3 million or 3 of them, is immigrants should be welcome. Oof. All right. So I'm going to say 3, 2, 1 and ask you all to move and move to the line of your conviction or your not conviction. So 3, 2, 1, move. Ooh, nice spectrum. Except Astral is flying around. Okay, Astral, you found your spot?
Repeat the question. Is it
Immigrants should be welcome. So are you on the strongly agree, strongly disagree, or somewhere in the middle? Okay, so lots of strongly agrees. We have a disagree. Way to hold the line, Mary. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that's an uncomfortable one. And I've thought about this a lot, actually, over the last couple of weeks. It's just really been on my heart. So I'm so glad for all of us in the courage to speak the perspectives we know here. And so first, we're going to I just feel so bad for you. I'll like come sit over here with you and be like, okay,
It's okay.
bring it.
It's okay.
Okay. All right. So who on this very long line of people who are strongly agree immigrants should be welcome can vouch for Mary and give some guesses as to why Mary would disagree with that? Okay, pick one though and raise your hand. Yes, there are a lot of reasons. Yeah. But we want to have a hand raised. One hand raised. Okay, Carl's got one.
Right, I did a hop.
Okay.
Sorry, I was recovering from a little coughing fit.
Uh-oh.
I believe probably the most kind of just widely cited one, is there's reasons to be protective of resources, and you can't just let everybody come in and take of your nation's resources. You should be following strict systems to allow all that.
Okay. Is that it, Mary? You gotta have boundaries.
I mean, yeah, that's valid. That's not my two main reasons.
2 main reasons you didn't get it. Okay. Astral, Vinia, Lau, you want to take a guess?
Too much immigrants might affect the culture of their own country. Maybe.
So you mean the country they're coming from, it affects to lose them. So don't let them leave.
They shall not replace us.
Yeah.
Just saying it hurt.
So you're saying keep the immigrants where they stay so it preserves the culture where they came from? Or are you saying it changes the culture that they arrive in and you don't want that?
Yeah, the latter, yes.
Okay.
It's more
so
they are gonna affect the culture of the
they're gonna depurify it, they're gonna muddy it, the melting, it's like not good. It changes the party. Is that one of your arguments, Mary?
It kind of touches on it. It's not quite there though.
Okay, not quite there, but close. All right. Maybe not. I know. It's very painful to say this validating whatever is. Sorry. So, yeah, does anyone else want to word that differently, less horrifying sounding, or want to give another guess? Why Mary's over there. Many would guess a lot of it is about control, the idea, the systems in place for immigrants. might create some big problems for modulating communities' health. Okay. So this goes into the, we're afraid of infection, not just of the culture, but maybe health-wise. Okay. System needs to be in place and they need to follow it. Yeah. They'll come here legally is an extreme way of saying, please follow a process that keeps us feeling safe. Oh, that's a really nice way to put it. They'll come here legally, which is all in quotes, is an extreme way of saying, please follow a process that keeps us feeling safe. We don't want to be too disrupted. There's a book actually that talks about this to some degree, and the concept of the white exodus, called Revenge of the Tipping Point. And it's a cringe, but it's also a really interesting book around data of how cultures feel disruptive and clamp down and either exit or push out, and what that percentile breakdown is. Does that fit, Mary? It feels in the same realms of the argument of, like...
I think it might do. Obviously, it's not quite how I would put one of the points I'd make, but
okay.
That
Gotcha.
in a roundabout way, maybe, yes, that's
one of them. Okay, great. All right. Dehumidify them. Humidify them?
You want to dehumidify the immigrants?
Are they particularly moist? Like, what are we talking about here? Do you mean
that's insane?
Dehumanify?
Dehumanize.
Dehumanize. Okay. I'm intentionally doing that. Okay. Yeah.
It's for
dehumanize. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. We're all kind of cringe walking around this whole argument because it's very hard to say these things out loud about any human beings. And it's important to understand what are the dialogues going on underneath. You got anything, Astral, to guess what Mary's second argument is here?
I was thinking about, like, they got to learn the rules. You don't want to sit down at a table and be playing a game of Monopoly and one player wants to just put all the pieces in their mouth. You need to make sure they're going to play properly. So I guess it's kind of what Vinny was saying.
Okay, so Venia's statement is, I think it's really important to rephrase the opinions about immigrant restriction, though. Valid concerns are made extreme so fast. Thank you. That's true. So to get that reaction out of people, I'm going to make it very fearful and very black and white, and then lose the wisdom that might be in that concern. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so Mary, I'm sensing we didn't get it. So what's the second area for you that we missed?
So, trying to figure out the right way to phrase this. What happens when you have an influx of immigrants, when you have too many? They end up, quite usually, they'll do jobs that the people who live in the country won't do. They'll do them for cheaper. They'll do them with fewer standards of living, fewer rights and regulations. And then what you end up with is some stores closing, and this is an active experience that I have in my town. So,
yeah.
Some stores close. Others have, shall we say, I guess I'll say immigrants working who don't provide the same standard of care or service because they're not being paid enough to do so. And also because they haven't been onboarded into the country and into the culture. There's a huge clash of cultural norms.
Mm-hmm.
And
So your
yeah.
What I'm hearing is your argument here is about the speed of immigrants coming in, less about they shouldn't be welcomed and more about it needs to be a balanced proportion of who's welcomed and acculturated.
We shouldn't just be entirely open arms.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it. Would you say you specify the argument to the skill level of the immigrant? Oh, okay. What if they're highly skilled?
I think there should be an onboarding process.
Okay.
In which it's more of a clash in norms and standards. For example, my mum told a story. Am I okay with telling specific stories?
Yeah, just keep it to 1 minute.
Okay. My mum told a story of a nurse who refused to provide anesthetic because in their country, they didn't bother with it. And so there's situations like that happening all over the place. It doesn't get noticed by a lot of, certainly not by the companies, certainly not by a lot of media, of stuff like that happening. Yeah.
So it's standards of comfort and care that can be very compromised.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you,
so
Mary. Yeah. Oh, there was a conclusion. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think for me to accept migrants, I would want an onboarding process.
Okay, got it. That is not as in place right now, and so it feels too fast and too many. Okay, thank you. So can you give a guess as to this lineup of suspects that strongly agree that immigrants should be welcomed? What is one of the arguments that they might have over here?
Well, they're migrating for a reason, and usually the reason is scarcity or something terrible going on in their home country. And so to not accept them is inhumane to some level.
Okay, raise your hand if Mary got your argument. Cough, Gaza, cough. Yep, and Askel's raising their hand. Yep. And Carl.
I'd say in the broadest sense that I feel like that applies to almost any kind of position you could take over here.
Okay. And Lau did not raise his hand.
I kind of feel like that was just saying you think you're right because it feels right. You feel like that's the right thing to do.
Okay. So it sounds like there's more arguments than that over here. Benny has two specific stories. You always point to.
I'd have a very specific idea you could land on that is pretty much a very simple sentence to state. So
okay, well let's give Mary one more chance to knock at least one of you completely over here. This is like Battleship, but of like seeing the other side. All right, Mary, let's get more into it. What's another reason?
I think Carl's right. I kind of tried to summarize a bit too generally. I don't know exactly where to go from there, though.
It's okay. Just zoom in and explain, like, here's another way that it's true that immigrants should be welcomed.
Well, I've heard talking about parents being separated from children due to issues with immigration or resistance to it, rather. So I guess I could focus on
the damage it's doing to families.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the damage that's doing to families.
Okay. By not welcoming them, by screening them, by there's separating and more traumas happening. Did that land for anybody as one of your arguments? Wow, it's a tough crowd over here.
But not why I'm here.
Okay. We've got a whole lineup. So painful boundary for all of you, but you each have 1 minute. I know, it's just wrong, but 1 minute to make your case as to why immigrants should be welcomed. Who would like to go first? Benny is going to go last to increase the chance of no traction. Okay. All right. Astral, you've got the floor. 1 minute and go.
I think this issue that we're having right now is, one of the great ones of our time at the moment. We have systems that are not accepting of people, because we have a lot of localized states that see their territory as, something that is not connected to the whole wide world. But we do live on a whole wide world that has changes that are rapidly changing. So we're going to have people that need to migrate from all points of the world. We could be seeing heat waves, droughts, even ice ages potentially as the Arctic collapses the way it could be.
So what I
immigrants
hear,
should be welcome because you never know when you might be one.
Ooh, that's interesting. And what I hear you is doing is pulling out the word migration out of immigrants and going, this is a core human creature need when our planet changes. That should be understood.
Also, we're explorers by nature
and made room for.
We like to wander all over the place if we have the opportunity to.
Yeah. And so we need to go from the premise that we could be the wanderers next and treat people the way we would want to be welcomed. Okay. Got it. Thank you. All right. Who's next? Wow, Carl?
I'll go. And
okay.
that kind of leads into mine, if anything, because I, again, strongly agree with Astro's statement there as well. I've always tried to be very forward facing and also critical of rules and systems that just seem arbitrary and just the idea of borders and your dirt, my dirt just seems very petty and bold and backwards. And I say, abolish borders, one world government, build a friggin' space elevator. Let's get this. Let's start doing cool shit, and stop squabbling over resources.
So you're saying we're wasting our time putting these boundaries up and not building for something bigger and more unified.
Yeah, and tackling the unified, looking at how people need to be moved around in order to deal with our current problems and such. Not even just in the pie in the sky, but if we stop looking at it as oh, but this country's gonna have to deal with that, and then it was just oh well, people probably shouldn't be here. Where can we take them that's gonna be good for them?
We need to be global social workers and really work on placing people and supporting everybody to place people in the best places for them and stop looking at it like, no, but how is the question we need to be asking. Venia has agreed or said it's a bold statement, what Carl is saying. Bold might suggest all of it. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you said the space elevator, right? Because the whole concept of going out to space is that rising above, that concept of let's build a perspective we can all agree on. So
I don't want to be ruled by the Martian Federation someday.
One world government presupposes we won't have regional departments, what we might now call nations.
Yeah,
yes, that's true.
It does start to get very bold there, yes.
Yeah.
It democracy's nice, but the whole system is built on a kind of resource hoarding notion in the beginning. So
that said, there is something
that part does get pie in the sky.
Okay, got it. All right, Lau, would you like to name your argument?
It's just that so like I'm from Southeast Asia, so that means I have like no I have only one season, which is like summer, hot days. If I want to move to the other country, which has like four weathers, I would love to stay there. But if immigrants is not allowed, like or welcomed, I might face a lot of troubles. So give like humans or people a chance or a right.
Individual design.
Thank you, Lau. And thank you for naming that, that there's that like immigrants outside of the room concept. And you're like, no, I would like to be an immigrant. I'm in a limited exposure space. Weather wise, I would like to be able to travel and feel those polarities that you all take for granted. And if I know that I'm not welcome, then I'm confined. I'm in a place of continued limited resources. Yeah, give humans a chance. I hear you. And Venia is writing in Australia without a path to citizenship. 100,000% agree. Yeah, that there's that sense of people who've planted their roots and decided this is where I live, and maybe they're lucky enough to be born there and whatever. They might not realize what it feels like to just be in your shoes for a day and feel that longing and that chronicity of a need to not be living where you are forever, and that unwelcomeness, and how much that causes not just despair, but potential like real suffering, illness, even death. Yeah. Wow. So many beautiful arguments. All right, Venia, got 1 minute to type. The overture of immigrants should be welcome. We don't hear the tractors if you want to flip off the typing and just go for it. Yeah, I haven't heard any tractors.
Maybe the filtering.
Okay, so I'll put my mic like really close and we'll ASMR this so that it doesn't think that the tractor is in the background.
Go for it.
So my argument actually works off of Marivia's argument, actually, which I think is very interesting. So there's this notion that we have to put in systems and onboard immigrants into our countries. I don't think anyone really argues with that. You need a process to move from country A to country B. We live in a transcultural world, but transcultural suggests multiple cultures. So having the onboarding process and the cohort year-over-year process to say we're only going to allow a certain amount of immigrants in, one, makes sense. Two, it's logistically the only way to do it. And three, for a specific nation to be able to control and understand that flow is critical. So I agree with that. Here's the problem, though. The vast majority of systems that we have put into place look at what are perceptively very large numbers, and they freak out about it. For instance, high-skill visa immigration in America, H-1B visas, are around 700,000 immigrants per year. And people look at that number and they're like, holy crap, we're allowing 700,000 high-skilled visa immigrants per year to come into this country? And it's like, well, yes, but think about that in the terms of the population of a city. That's Oakland, California. That is a subsection of San Francisco. That is a subsection of a city being allowed over the course of 365 days in a year. Commerce and business and academics and all of the ways that the world machinates requires that. And we look at that huge number and we say, people need a process. There's too many jobs disappearing. And then you're like, well, but really though, is it? Because it's less than a suburb of a major city.
And so your argument is, at the individual level, imagining a number like 700,000 feels very overwhelming. And whenever I'm in scarcity or fear or trying to negotiate resources, if I see that number, it will create a bias for me to target that as the cause of whatever I'm not able to make ends meet. But that's not realistic when you do zoom out to the bigger numbers and understand how this disperses and how necessary and important it is to choose welcoming. This wasn't immigrants should be allowed, right? This is welcome. And welcome implies a choice to be generous. And it implies a choice to be kind and build a culture that embraces what is not like us. And so there's an argument you're making here under a minute, much closer. There's an argument you're making here about recognizing that our human brains are not ready to look at these numbers and really understand how it all disperses. And yeah, that's really valid. I think there's importance there to realize humans are social creatures that have evolved to think of up to 300 social complex connections at a time, but we really don't comprehend these numbers we're talking about. They get scared far sooner than they should. Yeah, absolutely. And misappropriate, right? So like when we're in fear mode, we're going to pick something that's different because it has the most attention because it's different. And so that difference is stimulating us to focus on it. And I have fear, and those can get matched and start to become a prejudice and an argument to target. And so there's a decision there. Yeah, Mary.
I kind of have a somewhat of a rebuttal to that.
Ah, interesting.
If that's permitted.
Let me check time here. It isn't actually. Unfortunately, we're going to call it and we're going to say, oh, Benny is trying to veto this. I hear you, Benny. Let's finish this part, which is you all have heard really interesting arguments here for each other. I'm going to give you a 3, 2, 1, and we're going to see if anybody's going to move lines anywhere. So 3, 2, 1, move. Oh, look at that. Closer to the middle. Well done. Cool.
Get a new line.
Carl's like, I'm over there.
Further to that side?
You would move even further over there. Okay, look at that. Carl's gone off into the asteroid belt. Look at that. Yeah, so let's check in with you.
You're getting it.
You're like, it's not even a space elevator to the moon. It's an elevator to the asteroid belt. All right. Mary, actually, I think they were all trying to make arguments for you, but I'll give you 1 minute to give your rebuttal before we gotta wrap up. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So a phenomenon that's happened in the UK with immigration, and we are completely overwhelmed by it. Our government did a terrible job of setting up a number or onboarding, but what's started to happen is there are whole towns now that have more immigrants than locals, and so the entire town culture is shifting. And there are people who grew up there who feel like they have to now leave because they don't feel welcome there anymore.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of conversation that's happening in between all these different arguments that really have to do with how that welcoming happens and how the transitioning happens. And so, yeah, thank you for that.
Part of the reason I think that happens is because they will tend to flock together because of the cultural similarity, or familiarity rather, that they will tend to click or group up. Yeah,
and then it can, from the previous majority, that can feel almost like gang response or overtaking, or the definite like primal alarm bells start to go off of like, I'm not welcome here anymore. And this is my dirt, as Carl might have put it. And so it feels really like I didn't get to give my dirt away. My dirt was taken away from me. And then I don't feel welcoming at all about that. So a lot of compassion for how, despite our conversation here, how brutal this can feel when it's enacted and when it's enacted poorly, and it'd be interesting to follow up in our Discord chat with examples of ways that it has gone well. How does this work better? Not the best, not perfect, but better. And let's share those pieces with each other in the chat. You wrote a visa immigration guide for deliberative. Vania, how do you sleep? Do you ever sleep? I don't not believe you. It's just stunning, the amount of activism, and wow, that's amazing. What college did you go to? Okay, so thank you everybody. This was really powerful. Let's just do a quick circle up here to just get ourselves on the ground. There's a lot of pain in what we've been talking about, that we've been staying more in the lightheartedness of it, but it's still a tough topic, what we're looking at. There we go. Okay, finally got my body to work. All right, so if you don't mind forming a circle here, we're going to close up. Come down the lines. Forget they're there. Maybe I should find the pen and now actually erase them so that it's not as... Oh, did the pen reset?
Isn't it in this one? It's in this one, isn't it?
Did I hide it? Where did I hide it? I hid it so far, I didn't even see it. There we go. Yay. Okay. Woo. This was our first, other than the inauguration of the dot model world, this is the first time we've gotten to do an event in here. And we didn't quite utilize the conflict resiliency, but hopefully the spirit of dot helped us have an important conversation. I'm going to pretend. But this is where we can do with we're technically a little over time. So if you need to leave, let me know. But I'd love it if we could do an appreciation, just a brief acknowledgement of each other. So pretending that we have an invisible ball, we're just going to throw it to one person that touched us. And we're going to make sure that we include everybody in this circle at least once. So who would like to throw the ball first? Uploaded the immigration packet. Thank you, Benny. Mary got their hand up. Okay, Mary, throw that ball.
To Carl.
Carl.
Sweet.
Caught it.
For calling me out on coming up with a catch-all answer.
Ooh.
On the third point.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Okay.
Calling in.
Calling in. There you go. Love it. Way to utilize some of the language we're practicing here in BridgeMakers. Okay. And so, Carl.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to have received it first because I wanted to throw it to Lau.
Wow.
I think, and maybe this is seemingly true for others here as well, but I tend to abstract a lot and kind of look at things bigger picture, and kind of lose the individual perspective on that. So a couple times your thoughts were very just, direct and practical and down to earth, and made me, kind of circle back around and make sure I was thinking of the individual and my thoughts as I was forming ideas.
Yeah. You brought it to the real people end of things. Thank you, Lau.
Now it's my turn to
Now
throw
it's
the
your
ball.
turn. Yeah. Pick somebody who hasn't been chosen. Them an appreciation.
I'll throw it to Mary because
There you go.
I was like having a hard time when I was joining the event. I was like, why is the instance still not up yet? What happened? So I'm just gonna wait patiently, and he just pinged me like, "What? The answer is question mark?"
Hmm.
And I was like confused in the world. When I was just joined, and he did let me to hear.
Aw.
Thanks that for it.
Mary tracked you down. Yay. Thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
Good helper
Yeah,
NIMBY behavior.
somehow I had a feeling that you wanted to get here,
Yeah.
and that intuition was correct.
You need
I'm
some
glad I
backup.
did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was so confused.
Yay. Thank you, Mary.
All
Yeah,
right.
all right.
I guess. Wait, let me find the ball.
That's what happens.
Venia, catch the ball in the air physically
Yeah.
in your body, even if you couldn't catch it in VR. Got it in your hands. Hold your hands. Okay.
I think partly for
you hit her.
opening my mind to the first point, driving on the right side because of the infrastructure and pedestrians walking on the wrong side a lot.
Nice.
That was cool. I liked that argument. Not something that I'd thought of before. And
Yeah, go Venia.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Also, right on time, the tractor stopped.
Nice. Yay.
So trying to pull up ball thing. Ball thing.
Yay.
Astral.
Got the ball.
Honestly, I really like the ball thing. The ball thing is really cute. I like the ball thing.
Yay.
I wanted to give you a kudos because in a lot of ways you've had a very understated, very calm, and very, in my view, grounded and visceral way of explaining and rectifying a lot of the problems that I had between the two sides. It was very nice to kind of trend toward that neutral by default, and it made it a lot easier for me to think about the complexities of the topics. So thank you.
That's so great. That acknowledgement is helping me remember how much we have our opinions, but it's how we hold ourselves in expressing those opinions and how we convey them when it's our turn to speak that can create that bridge and that collaboration and that vibe of safety to feel called out or called in and just keep hearing each other. Yeah, more grounded and simple. That's right. Astral lives and breathes and practices these conversations, I'm guessing, also in your sleep. So when you live it that rigorously.
Stop thinking about them.
Yeah, exactly. When you live it that rigorously, you are looking for the 5 words that are going to make the biggest difference in people and figuring out that coding. Yeah, lovely.
Point.
Ooh, I get it.
All right. I want to say that I appreciate the conceptualization of the space that you've put together. I think it's very functional and it's homey, and I like the different regions. Well done.
Oh, well.
And thank you for letting me be late.
Oh, thank you for coming. And this is also a shout out then to Nimsy, who's our world creator and who co-birthed this space with me. And like Nimsy did with me what I've done with many people in building them world spaces. I just didn't know anybody else could do that. So I feel very lucky. There's a whole Finding Nimsy 2-hour video if anybody wants to see Nimsy's worlds on YouTube. I went with her this week and we explored her other creations and gave her a shout out. So, yes.
I've watched through most of it.
Yeah. So brilliant. And you can literally find Nimsy in some of those worlds. She's hidden a like Easter egg of herself animated as a tiny avatar inside the world somewhere. Very, very clever creator. and her name is Finding Nimsy. So that's just like so many levels. It made me like rock. When I found her avatar, I like rocked it like a doll on the ground. I was like, it's okay, you look scared. So that's how brilliant Nimsy is. Okay, yes. This was really meaningful, and I just want to thank everybody. If you're willing, let's all jump in front of this sticker so we can get our photo for the day, and then just think about how we can keep making this even better, so this becomes ideally something almost viral that catches on, and this becomes maybe the signature piece about bridge making. Using VR to have hard conversations. So, what's our word for today? Space elevator?
Aspirations.
Yeah.
Dehumidifying people.
Dehumidifying.
Dehumidify.
Dehumidifying.
Wow. That's a level. Dehumidifying. Nice. Oh gosh.
I want to see if someone posts that on Twitter. I want to see what the comments look like.
It'll probably be pretty dry jokes.
Take the tears away, Carl. Lovely.
I'm so tired all of a sudden now.
I bet, right? Yeah. Well, thank you,
A bit
everybody.
flaky.
Just note, our next event is at 4 p.m. Pacific time, which is in an hour and 20 minutes. Llama and I are going to have a conversation. It's a community check-in. We've never done this before. Just about world news and how this is impacting BridgeMakers and how it's impacting us and how to be sustainable as a community, because we're struggling. And so we're going to have a very transparent conversation, and we're going to be streaming that. And I don't think we really have a huge agenda that way, but we are having so many of these conversations one-on-one that we realize we got to share this with the community, because it is impacting how much we think we can hold this space, and we need to show what's happening for us around that. Okay. Yeah, I bet. I mean, every day is just like waking up and feeling like it's a whole other planet we're living on, and how do we cope with that? Yeah.
I also feel weird, just as a British in Britain, seeing what's going on in America.
Oh, I can only, the awkward levels. There's a different emotion for whatever's happening right now, and awkward and horror combined, and so many things. Yes, Lao also is feeling weird. There's a lot of weirdness. So yeah, we've got to. I bet. Yeah, we've got to have a conversation for BridgeMakers also, because this is really impacting our community, and we're not really talking about it, and how a lot of that is coming towards Llama and I in sometimes unconscious ways, and we need to find a way to make the bridge what we need it to be, so it doesn't, So that's 4 p.m., which is an hour and 20 minutes. It will also be streamed, and then our final event for the day will be 6:30 p.m., which will be our we've got, I think, 4 or 5 episodes left of this series, and it's been such a brilliant journey. Great way to finish our Sunday evenings. Okay, but in the meantime, I'm going to take a body break, because we've got our next thing coming up. Hopefully you'll come and have that conversation with us. You can kind of get some transparency on what core leaders look like when they talk about hard things. And we'll also include you as much as we can. So, okay, be well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.